and welcome to the Broken Warriors Guide to Books. I'm going to be reviewing the book Twilight Robbery by Frances Hardinge for you today. This is the sequel to another book, Fly By Night. I think it can actually be read independently. And Frances Hardinge you may have heard of because her most recent novel, The Lie Tree, has won the Costa Book Prize, which is quite unusual, very unusual for a children's novel, and yet this is a book aimed at children, not even young adult, a children's novel. So I think 8+ is the recommended. Obviously, I've enjoyed it as an adult. So yes, Twilight Robbery is the story of Mosca Mai, an orphaned 12-year-old girl, and her various friends and comrades, including most importantly her goose, Saracen, and a kind of eloquent scoundrel, eponymous Clint, and their adventures and catastrophes, mainly in the town of Toll, involving a kidnapping plot, and the use of the mythologies of this town and various scrapes and exciting things. So yeah, the town of Toll is a really fascinating, imaginative creation. So this is set, it's kind of a low fantasy novel. It's not our world, but there isn't really kind of magic or dragons or anything. So it's set in a world where there are the blessings, and when you are born determines which of these you're kind of born under, almost like a star sign or a saint's day, but that determines your name and lots of sets of kind of associations about you. So Mosca is born under Palpitatel, Goodman Palpitatel, who keeps flies out of butter and jam, and therefore she has a name, Mosca, associated with insects. And if you have, there's another character who's born under the Good Lady, associated with the sun, and she's Beamerbeth, for kind of sunbeams. And the town of Toll is divided, but essentially by what your name is, into Toll by day and Toll by night, of which what time of day essentially you're allowed out, and whether you can be a daytime person or a nighttime person. But Frances Hardinge has done an amazing job of taking this really interesting concept and like thinking about the practicalities of how do two towns live alongside one another. What are the problems with that if you're a night person, and how does it work with births, and how will people react if they're a night person, and what would they want their child to be in terms of names. They're also just, all the individual names are really creative, and I picked out a few of mine, and this was just literally from flicking through the book, that the first ones that came out of Good Lady When You Least, Mistress of Reunions and Remembered Faces. These are all the different chapter titles, are all variously appropriate. Good Lady Lumenhurst, Mother of Night Owls. Good Lady Twittet, Feeder of the Early Bird. And you can see through these kind of names of the real joy in language that Hardinge has as a writer. And it's kind of terribly funny of those plays on words and those kind of enjoyment in words to set the scene and create characters and playfulness of words in themselves. And that partly comes out through one of her characters, eponymous Clint, who has that name because of the blessed that he's born under, that's particularly associated with words, who, as I said, very eloquent and is essentially a con man, but is able to get his way with words. And the main character is Mosca Mai, who I absolutely love as a children's book character. Being an orphan, having this particular name, makes her inherently an outsider and lost, and constantly having to kind of scrap for survival. And that's partly what this story is. It's Mosca and Eponymous trying to find a way to feed themselves and survive the winter and get somewhere where their names aren't known so they can continue to make a living. But Mosca is this incredibly resilient character. She's got a lot of anguish, and she's willing to be angry at the world, willing to be kind of defiant, but she's also very, very creative and kind of coming up with solutions for things, and her imagination and her kind of willingness to see through people I really liked, as well as a kind of compassion and an ethics, even when she kind of resents herself for having no ethics. And the other thing that I absolutely love about this book is the goose Saracen, who has been Mosca's companion for years, and who just looks like a normal goose, and no one expects him to cause any problems, but will just cause absolute destruction and mayhem and pain. And there are all these bits where people are like, it's just a goose, can't do any harm. Or have been warned, there's a goose in this room, don't go in there, and they do. And it's sort of, you get the situation where Saracen's been roused, and it kind of fades to black, and then Mosca walks on and just feeds goose some oats, picks them up under her arm, toddles off. So yeah, and it's also like quite a nice, I don't know how realistic it is in terms of human geese relationships, but there is a degree of like loyalty between Mosca and Saracen. Saracen is always kind of Mosca's first concern, and Saracen would happily kill the rest of the human race except for Mosca. It was quite a nice reciprocal relationship. And it's quite nice to have an animal companion that's not a kind of soft, gentle one, but is feathery and beaky. And that's really good. There are also a number of other interesting side characters. There's a midwife who is, again, really kind of practical woman who deals with things as they come and is really lovely. And there's a kind of ruffian, smuggler, teenage girl called Lalo, who wears a clawed glove, and is generally amazing. I'd quite like to see more of. So yeah, there are lots of kind of little delights in it in terms of set pieces of scenes and these characters you get introduced to. The plot, I would say, it's more enjoyable once you're into the town at all. So pursue with it. Persevere with it. Pass the first bit. But once it gets going, it's amazing and kind of helter-skelter and chaotic, but also really, really carefully plotted and really well thought out in terms of the consequences of things. And there's mystery and intrigue and spies, and there is a real it's a children's book, so I don't have to do masses of trigger warnings, but there is a real sense of kind of danger and suspense that holds throughout the book, and you're with Mosca in her fears, and it comes to a really satisfying ending and conclusion. So yeah, if you like geese and fantastic young girl protagonists and playfulness of language and exciting plots and adventure, then this book is for you, and I would very much recommend it. It was in my local public library, and because Frances Hardinge has just won the Costa Prize, it's quite likely that her works will appear in your local library if you are in the UK, so it's worth seeking them out, because public libraries are amazing and you should use them, and they are likely to have her works. And I would recommend reading other things by Frances Hardinge. I haven't got to the literary yet, it's very much on my reading list. So yes, I hope you enjoy. Thank you very much for watching.